Boere Awakening, Part 3. The veil is torn. The scroll has been opened. They carried the fire, but over time the fire dimmed. The first vineyards had taken root. The first church had risen from covenant dust. The names of their forefathers were etched into the soil. But as the next century came, so did a new battle. The Huguenots arrived with hearts wide open, singing psalms across oceans, carrying a hope of freedom, a land of refuge. But over generations, that light was dimmed, not by war, but by education. It was in Scotland, already a rising Masonic stronghold, that a subtle shift began. Andrew Murray, born in Graaff-Reinet, the son of a missionary, was trained in Aberdeen, where theology blurred into Freemason ideals, then on to Utrecht, where Calvinism and nationalism merged. What began in Constantine's court, a merger of power and religion, echoed through time. Freemasonry formalized what Constantine began, hidden control cloaked in religion. By the time it reached Africa, it wore a white collar and preached empire, not kingdom. The Huguenots once fled the shadow of Rome, but only a few generations later that same cross reappeared, on Protestant pulpits, still drinking from Roman wells. Calvin's Geneva never fully broke from Constantine's crown. The reformers kept the structure, even while rejecting the Pope. By the time Murray rose in South Africa, the pulpit bore a Roman cross, a symbol of empire, conquest, and priesthood without womb. And so, the revival that could have restored Eden instead cemented hierarchy. A nation built on promises of freedom returned to the chains it once escaped. Murray brought back a polished gospel, orderly, emotional, even moving, but stripped of the wild, raw call of the Father. Murray taught piety, devotion to the Father, but avoided the Torah and the prophets. He preached surrender, but not separation. He returned with fire, but not Elijah's fire. It was the flame of order, not awakening. As the Dutch Reformed voice, he spread revival that looked true, but severed Hebraic roots. He began separating Gentiles from the Father's prophetic teachings, now unfolding. He never taught the oneness Paul declared in Romans 11, that Jews and Gentiles must become one olive tree under one law and one covenant, the covenant of Yeshua. Instead, he preached separation for the wrong reasons. Galatians was also completely misinterpreted. The law was thereafter mistakenly abolished in our church's roots, which are now deeply embedded in the Afrikaner faith today. Murray never called for the daughters of Zion to rise. To Murray, the daughters of Zion, meaning all women in general, were silent spectators, not covenant carriers. This reflects in some churches and families still today. In 1806, the Cape fell to the British. A second exile began, not by sword, but by slow erosion. The abolition of slavery in 1833. English forced into schools and pulpits. Roman Sunday worship normalized, and financial favor began to shift. The Boer farmers felt it. The fire was leaving the valley. Andrew Murray returned to minister to the remaining farmers and to the spiritual heirs of the Voortrekkers. He and his descendants shaped South Africa's religious future. The Great Trek. Not just a journey, but an identity. They faced wild animals, lawless lands, and the unknown. But deeper still, a hunger for covenant purpose. Before we turn the page, there's a remnant we must not overlook, born not in exile, but in collision, empire, conquest, and covenant betrayal. The Khoi and San, original guardians of Edenic land, watched foreign flags rise over star-named soil. They were the watchers, guardians of waters, plants, and the unseen. Then came desecration and forced convergence. Many Khoi women entered settler homes, not in covenant, but conquest. Some walked with voortrekkers, not as wives, but survival companions. Yet children were born. A modern study confirmed what was long denied. 98.7% of Afrikaner DNA tested carries Khoisan ancestry. Not accidental, prophetic. In the wilderness, something no history book recorded. Boer men and native women, sometimes covenantal, often not, birthed children between scroll and soil, raised under European religion, but carrying something ancient. They were not bastards. They were bridges. The Boer, unknowingly of Esau's line, carried a pattern, not the ark itself, but its meaning. The rod, priestly authority. The manna, heaven's calendar. The tablets, law on hearts. This remnant, born of collision, was formed to rise, to rebuild David's fallen tabernacle. They are not spectators, but instrumental in the return of the 12 tribes. This was the whisper of Amos 9. I will raise up the tabernacle of David, possess the remnant of Edom and all Gentiles called by my name. The wilderness wasn't abandonment, it was convergence, a scroll stirring beneath the dust. Now, the land remembers. The fire never died. It moved, hidden in seed lines, in stories the empire would not print. The doctrines of dominance silenced this witness. They denied the union, denied the women, denied the womb. The fire had left the valley. Northward, the wagons rolled, carrying covenant, memory, and a dream of freedom. But over time, the flame flickered. Life became about fences, land, and survival. Missionaries warned the spiritual unity was fading. Historic records revealed that hardship replaced the former spiritual zeal the Boere displayed. My father does not read the scriptures like he used to. The cattle and fences consume his days. He prays but quickly. Letter from a Voortrekker daughter to relatives in the Cape, 184. In many places, church services were seldom held. In the interior, spiritual leadership faded. Even leaders like these Jan Lion Cachet and Reverend Dutoit spoke of decline. Faith turned rigid or lukewarm. Covenant became culture. Faith became tradition. Then came gold, diamonds, and empire took notice. War came, not just to break a people, but to break a scroll. The first concentration camps of the modern age. But heaven remembered. The fire, though hidden, was not gone. To understand the rest of the story, return to the camps, to the women who wept, to the scrolls hidden in suffering. Go to part 4 and remember who you really are.